I don't trust anything that crawls out of Argentina with blue eyes. There's a reason for that.
And now, let's check in on Candace Owens, the right-wing conservative commentator and viral sensation. Since leaving the Daily Wire in controversial circumstances a little while back, Candace has gone out on her own, done her own show, totally unfiltered, seeing the real Candace. And frankly, it's gotten pretty weird. She's spiraled into a lot of, frankly, anti-Semitic territory when it comes to her coverage of Israel and other stuff that goes far beyond just criticizing Israel and ends up in some pretty weird places. And now she's somehow in the position where, speaking about Latin American politics, she is sympathetically speaking about the communist dictator of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, and critically / conspiratorially speaking about the freedom-loving, free-market right-wing leader of Argentina, Javier Milei. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but this clip is going viral and I want to break it down with you guys. Let's take a listen.
So they had an election and their incumbent president, Nicolas Maduro, we all know who Nicolas Maduro is, and my suspicion is he's actually about to be killed, and I'll tell you why they're calling it electoral scam. First among them, Milei in Argentina. Now, I want to be very clear. I don't trust anything that crawls out of Argentina with blue eyes. There's a reason for that. And that reason is because after World War II, a lot of Argentinians suddenly had blue eyes. And so I do not trust Milei. Maduro responded to Milei by calling him a cowardly bug and a traitor to the homeland and a fascist. Now, the fascist part might be true. I don't know. I got to see his genealogy because I just don't trust anything with blue eyes that comes from Argentina. That's all I'm saying.
Wow. So there's a lot to unpack there from Candace. First and foremost, she's talking about the recent election that Maduro held in Venezuela that most outside analysts think was a sham election, not a real election, because he somehow won with a majority of the vote despite having destroyed his country through terrible socialist policies and created a mass emigration crisis with millions of Venezuelans literally fleeing the country and insane levels of inflation that have devastated the population. So for one thing, there's actually a lot of evidence that the election was rigged, and two, the idea that he would be reelected with a majority of the vote under these circumstances doesn't pass the sniff test to begin with. And Javier Milei from Argentina was one of the first global leaders to call out this likely sham election. Yet Candace is now saying she doesn't trust Javier Milei, who's a very right-wing, pro-freedom candidate and leader in Argentina, because of the color of his eyes? Now, to be clear, what she's suggesting here is that Javier Milei, apparently, may be descended from people who were part of the Nazi Party, because many Nazis famously fled Germany after World War II and moved to Argentina. She's suggesting that maybe that's where he's descended from, and that's why he has blue eyes. To be clear, this is kind of wild speculation. There's no actual evidence of this, and there are plenty of other reasons he could have blue eyes. It's not just people from Germany who have had blue eyes who've moved to Argentina. Heck, people from Spain sometimes had blue eyes, and obviously they're intermixed with the Argentinian DNA and ecosystem there. But more importantly, even if Javier Milei were somehow somewhere up the line in his genealogy related to somebody who'd fled from Germany after World War II, so what? That wouldn't make him untrustworthy because of the color of his eyes. And it wouldn't make him a fascist just because he was distantly related to somebody who was. If anything, the policies and the actual agenda he's espoused and believes in is the opposite of fascism. It's all about limited government and freedom and individual liberty, not statism and repression. So Candace's little rant here, where she's seemingly sympathizing with the brutal communist dictator and yet coming out swinging against and undermining and attacking the credibility of a freedom-loving leader like Milei just because of his eye color and baseless theories about his genealogy is genuinely bizarre. Now, it might have something to do with the fact that Milei has been outspoken in his support for Israel, whereas Maduro has been outspoken in his opposition to the state of Israel, and Candace increasingly seems to be falling deep down the rabbit hole and making that issue her entire lens of looking at the world. But it's truly bizarre stuff, guys, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I've been critical of Candace Owens for many years now, so much so that she blocked me on Twitter back in 2019. And it's been interesting to see in recent weeks and months and years, many on the right suddenly call out Candace and realize that she's not the most serious or stable person, because some of us pointed this out many years ago. Ultimately, I'm kind of concerned how many millions of people still seem to be hanging on Candace's every word, because if she was just kind of spiraling and doing her own thing, okay, I guess, but it's concerning to me that millions of people still trust her as a source of information, yet she's using that platform to push very bizarre notions, like this weird thing about Javier Milei. You guys let me know what you think in the comments below. Have you also been noticing Candace seeming to spiral into crazier and crazier territory as of late?